Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Hi everybody. If you follow the channel, you kind of know that I like to collect knives made by Camillus Cutlery Company, specifically the ones that were made pre-2007. So back when Camillus Cutlery was actually located in Camillus, New York. And well, it was one of the oldest knife companies in America, and it was known as the knife maker's knife maker because they made so many knives for other companies as well, and also they partnered with companies and everything else. In any case, what I have here is another Camillus Stockman, and I really was not setting out to collect a bunch of Camillus Stockmans, but somehow that has been happening. And this particular one goes by two different names depending on the year that it was made. And Camillus made this knife for a very long time. I believe it started making it possibly even before World War I. So at least as far back as 1918. And it was still in production into the 90s, maybe all the way until Camillus closed in 2007. Now, originally, this knife was known as the Junior Premium Stock. Not Stockman, Junior Premium Stock. It was, that's the way they called it. And the reason this was the Junior Premium Stock is because it's built on a 3 3/8 inch frame, hence the Junior. So this is a medium Stockman. Now they had another knife that looked almost identical to this, except it was larger. It was on a 3 7/8 inch frame, and that was known as the Premium Stock knife. And both of them came out with 3 different blade options. And this is the blade option that I've always been looking for. This is the one that has the spiral punch. And there you have it. And now this one was made in 1976, well, 1960 to 1975 or so. I can tell that from the tank stamp here. Camillus with the full underline, New York, USA. This is the tank stamp that Camillus was using from around 1960 to 1975. After 1975, they went to the italicized Camillus name on there. And before that, they had a short line under the Camillus knives. Those were the ones in the late 50s. So this is the one that went for about 15 years time period from 1960 to 1975. And so I'm not exactly sure what this knife was called because, like I mentioned, originally it was known as the Junior Premium Stock. But sometime in the 1970s, they changed the name to just Premium Stock. The fact that they still had the 3 7/8 inch frame knife, and that was also called the Premium Stock, is a little confusing, but it was no longer called the Junior Premium Stock beginning sometime in the 1970s and throughout the rest of its career. It became the Premium Stock knife. And this particular one is a number 64. And the number 64 frame on this knife, or the number 64 pattern on this knife, is the one that has the spiral punch blade. Now, the Premium Stock also, the 3 7/8 inch frame, they also had one with a spiral punch. But in the 64 line, well, this is the 64, the number 63, instead of having a spiral punch, it has a pen blade in place of the spiral punch. And instead of having the spade blade here, it would have a sheepfoot blade. And then the other knife in this was the number 65 Junior Premium Stock knife. And that one had a sheepfoot and a spade blade, but the spade blade was where this blade is, where the punch was, and the sheepfoot was up here. That's the difference between them. Also, they were adorned with different covers. Now, the number 64 always seemed to have something that either was stag, or then it went to bone stag, and then it went to some kind of simulated stag. And this one, I believe, in depending on when it was made, it was either listed as carbone, which is basically a Delrin, or it would have been called brown stag Delrin in the catalogs. It really depends on the year of manufacture, but all of it is basically just a Delrin that has been jigged, and this jigging is supposed to imitate stag, but most people just look at it and go, okay, that's brown jig Delrin. But they would have either referred to it as carbone, Carbone, or they would have called it the brown stag Delrin. And before it was called carbone, it was just called brown stag. So it came with this handle material came with a lot of different names. And originally, like I said, before it was Delrin, it was actually made in bone. That was jigged to look like stag, and before that, it was actually in stag. But that was pre-World War II that it was actually in stag. This is obviously one made in the 1960s to 70s. We know that from the tank stamp, but it is a really well-made knife. You can see here the wonderful carbon steel back springs and the brass liners and spacers going on. And look at that. There is no flaws in there at all. There's no gapping or anything. They really knew how to make a knife back then. Nickel silver bolsters, brass pins, nickel silver shield. And then, well, on the blade here, this is the clip blade, the main blade. See the wonderful swedge there. Now the swedge is only on the show side of the blade. It's not on the back side, but it is there nonetheless. And you can see the patina going on because this is a carbon steel blade. A wonderful 1095 carbon steel. No wobble at all on that blade. Really nice and tight. Really good close going on. Obviously it is not straight down the middle. I don't see that on a lot of Camillus knives to begin with. But it is not hitting either. And then the punch we already saw, the spiral punch, and the spiral is there to supposedly help you dig into the wood or dig in through the leather and everything. And it really is designed to cut through there. You do have not much of an edge on it at all, though. You got the lip there, so it is kind of like angle iron. Nice tip, though. And then you got a wonderful, yeah, and again, if this was used, it held up really well because it is tight as can be. And then we have the spade blade here, and that is just a little razor blade right there. Wonderful spade tip. This is blunt, like it should be. You can see the belly on the blade though there. A nice flat grind. Just a wonderful little blade going on there. And again, tight as can be. So the build quality of this knife has held up really well, considering, well, it's 1975 at the latest, probably, 85, 95, 05, 15. Now we're coming up to 25. So we're looking at a knife that is at least 50 years old and could be as much as 65 years old. And it is rock solid. So it does look like it was used, but whoever was using it knew how to take care of a knife. That's what I would say. And this is part of my growing collection of Camillus Stockman knives. I really never set out to do it, but this is the fifth one I've got. And, well, let's take a look at the other five real quick. Okay, technically 6 Stockmans, but that's because I've got 2 of the same, and that is these knives, which are the Army Air Force knives that were made during World War II. And these do not have a pattern number because it wasn't typical of what Camillus was making. The closest knife to this in the Camillus line was the number 70 cattle knife. And see there, this is the Camillus 4 line. Got your spear blade there, and then a sheep foot blade, and then you have a pin blade. And that's not what you would find on the cattle knife. The cattle knife would either have the number 70 had a spade blade, and I think the number 71 had a spiral punch. but this was made specific for the Army Air Force or the Army Air Corps, whichever one you want to call it, during World War II, and they wanted a pen blade. So they got a pen blade on these knives, and not something you normally see in the Camillus catalog, other than as an Army Air Force knife. And then after that, we'll go for the grandpa knife. I got this one because, well, I'm a grandpa. And this is actually on an 883 frame. It's the one with the square jaw frame here. And it's not that big of a knife either. I think it's comes in right at 3 and 3 1/4. Yeah, about 3 1/4 inches is the grandpa knife. And it's got a clip blade going on here. This one has a very weak mainspring for the clip blade. And then you got a sheep foot blade and a spay blade on there. And this one is featuring a wonderful saw cut Delrin with the grandpa shield. And like I said, that is an 883, a number 883 frame. Next we'll grab the this one. This is the number 86. This one is made later in the run for Camillus, though. As you can see, this is right at the end of the Camillus line. I think the grandpa was near the end of Camillus too. Yeah, you can see by the double line on the Camillus. So this is one of the later ones made. This one too, very late in the game, but really nice looking jig Delrin going on there. Got that double line Camillus shield going on there too. Nice clip blade, and then on the other side here, a sheep foot blade and a spay blade. Now, at first glance, this looks like it could be something similar to the 64 pattern, but if you notice, it's not quite as chubby, and that's because this is the slender premium Stockman, and this is a number 86 slender premium Stockman. They have a lot of things called a premium Stockman in the Camillus family. This one was the slender. And next up, this is the smallest one I've got. I think I've done a video on this one. I'll do a more in-depth video on these later as well, but I just thought I'd show them all real quick. This is a number 83 Deluxe Pony Stockman, and this thing is a little wee Stockman. See right there, 2 3/4 inches in the closed position. And if you see the blade here, it is clearly marked Camillus Deluxe. And we see the tang stamp there, Camillus, New York, USA, and it is a single line underneath. So it is about the same age as my premium stock here. But this is a Deluxe Pony stock. And you got the clip blade. And again, you notice it does have the swedge there, but it does not have it on the back side. And the blades on this one is supposedly a sheep foot blade, but it is almost a coping blade because of just how small it is. And then on the other side here we have a pen blade. So, and that is my Deluxe Pony stock. And this was my latest Camillus Stockman to show up. The premium stock or the junior premium stock, depending on the year it was made. I think just for sanity's sake, I would call this a junior premium stock regardless of the year, because there is another knife that is also called the premium stock that is 3 7/8 inches long instead of 3 3/8 inches long. But there's my Camillus Stockmans to date, with this one being the newest. With that said, I will let you go and talk to you again soon. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.